The Barrett M107 sat alone on the steel armory table, swallowing the pale fluorescent light like a black, hulking shadow. Even among the deadliest weapons the Navy kept locked behind reinforced concrete and biometric access panels, the Barrett had a presence, a quiet, heavy authority that made every man in the room straighten his spine. But this one didn't belong here. Chief Petty Officer Cole Maddox stood over the rifle, arms crossed, jaw tightening as he scanned the weapon with practiced precision. 16 years in the teams, endless deployments, and a lifetime's worth of violence had given him an instinct sharper than any blade. And right now, every instinct screamed that something was wrong. He leaned down, his reflection slicing across the polished receiver. "Armorer," he said quietly, not taking his eyes off the rifle. "Where'd this come from?" The young E4 behind him swallowed, his uniform too crisp, his nerves too obvious. "Sir, it wasn't scheduled for any inspection today." "I didn't ask about schedules," Cole muttered. "I asked who brought it in." The armorer shifted uneasily. "That's just it. Nobody signed it in. Nobody claimed it. It was sitting in Bay 3 when we opened up at 600. Cole straightened. His heartbeat slowed not from calm but from the cold awareness of danger. On a Navy base, weapons didn't just appear. Everything was logged, tracked, inspected, cross-checked, and documented. Paper trails lived longer than sailors did. This Barrett had no trail. Cole circled the rifle, hands behind his back. Dust clung to the hard case beneath it, not the fine dust from California's beaches, but coarse, gritty sand from somewhere far harsher, somewhere foreign, somewhere the Navy didn't like to talk about. He popped open the bolt with a smooth, familiar motion. Something felt off immediately. The bolt group wasn't the standard M107 setup. Not wrong, just different. Tuned, customized, the kind of modification only a handful of shooters in the world would even know how to do. Cole's brow furrowed. "Armorer, who logged into the armory first today?" Petty Officer Klein, sir." "Klein, on leave in Florida." The armorer froze. Cole felt the air tighten around them. "And who else has access to override the cameras?" Cole asked. The armorer blinked, confused. "Cameras, Chief, the cameras haven't shown anything since." Cole looked at him sharply. "Since when?" "Since 4:30, sir. We thought it was a glitch." Cole didn't answer. He reached for his toolkit. If command wouldn't tell him what this rifle was doing here, he'd find out himself. One by one he broke the rifle down, each metallic click echoing through the room like a ticking clock. Barrel assembly, upper receiver, lower, buffer, spring, bipod, nothing unusual. But then, as he slid the bolt carrier free, something thin and metallic slipped loose and clinked onto the concrete floor. Cole froze. So did the armorer. Cole crouched, picking up the object between his fingers. A small metal shim, razor-thin and deliberately placed. Not something that would be inside a Barrett. Not something that would survive recoil without tearing apart. This shim had been hidden there. And on its surface, barely visible without angling it to the light, was an engraving. A number. Not random, not serial, not accidental. A number Cole hadn't seen in 10 years. His grip tightened until the metal bit into his palm. The air felt suddenly colder. No, it couldn't be. He blinked, looked again. The number didn't change. It was the same code etched onto LT. Derek Hale's fighting knife, the same one Hale used to call his ghost code. A dumb inside joke, a superstitious charm, a piece of nothing that had meant everything the night Hale died. Cole's chest tightened painfully. Memories hit like explosions, the jungle, the burning air, the ambush, the screaming radio. The last time he'd seen Hale disappearing into smoke and chaos. Bravo team had lost 5 men that night, but losing Hale had been different. Hale was his brother, the one man Cole trusted without hesitation, The one man whose death never felt like it had been fully explained. He inhaled slowly, as though afraid the memory might shatter if he breathed too hard. 10 years. 10 years since that mission was sealed away. 10 years since Command had told him to let the dead stay dead. So why? Why was Hale's code sitting inside a rifle that had no business being here? The armorer finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "Chief, what is that?" Cole didn't answer. He lifted the rifle's upper receiver again, inspecting every millimeter of it. Near the forward rail, almost invisible, he found it, a fresh burn mark. A precise, deliberate scorch mark, shaped unnaturally straight, like someone had used a heated tool. A sign. A direction. A message. Cole's skin prickled. He wasn't imagining it. Someone wanted him to find this. Someone wanted him to follow the breadcrumbs. Someone wanted him to reopen a grave everyone else had buried. He stood, the shim clenched tight. "Get back," he ordered softly. The armorer stumbled away. Cole scanned the room, windows, mirrors, reflective surfaces, any place someone could be watching. His instincts clawed at him. Something else was off. And then, in the reflection of the polished armory glass, a shadow moved. Slow, intentional. Behind him. Cole spun instantly, shoulders square, hand nearly drawing his sidearm. But the hallway was empty. Still, the security door at the far end of the corridor was swinging shut, as if someone had just slipped through seconds earlier. Cole stepped into the hall, making no sound despite his boots. His eyes narrowed. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The scent of CLP oil drifted behind him from the armory. He walked slowly toward the exit where the door had moved. There were no footsteps on the waxed floor, no sign of a person, not even a whisper of movement. Just the distant hum of ventilation, and the heavy silence of someone who'd already vanished. A chill crawled up Cole's spine. He was being watched. Not by the base. Not by Command. Not by any regular threat. Someone who knew the code. Someone who knew the Barrett. Someone who knew exactly which seal would find it. Cole looked down at the shim again. The number cut into it glinted under the hallway lights. The number that should have been buried with Hale 10 years ago. And in that moment, a truth Cole never expected to feel again pulsed through him with brutal clarity. Either Hale wasn't dead, or someone was using his ghost to send a warning. Either way, the past had returned. And it wasn't finished with him. The armory lights flickered once, then twice, then went dark, leaving Cole standing in the hallway, holding a dead man's message in the heart of a living nightmare. Cole Maddox's breath echoed in the dark hallway, mingling with the faint hum of the base's emergency power. The armory lights had died, leaving him alone with shadows and the weight of a ghost from his past. The shim Hale's ghost code pressed cold against his palm, heavy with meaning. Each step he took toward the nearest exit felt like walking deeper into a trap he didn't yet understand. For a moment he closed his eyes. He hadn't thought about that number in over a decade. Not since the night Bravo Team's mission went sideways in some hostile jungle far from any friendly eyes. Hale had etched it on his knife handle as a joke, a superstition, a secret mark that only Cole would ever notice. "You're alive," Cole whispered to himself, but deep down he knew better. The number couldn't lie. It was a signature of intent, a breadcrumb left deliberately for him, and whoever left it, they wanted Cole to follow it. He slipped the shim into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Every signal on base was normal, every channel silent except for the static of normal comms. No messages, no alerts. Yet the gut-deep unease that had grown in him since seeing that number intensified with each passing second. Cole knew exactly what he had to do. The first rule of a mission like this, the one drilled into him over thousands of training hours, was never trust anyone above you. Not brass, not command, especially not when the dead might be alive. He stepped back into the armory, crouching over the Barrett. He ran a hand across the rifle's massive frame, checking for anything else that might have been left behind, a clue, a signal, a warning. And then he saw it, a tiny dent near the chamber, polished in a way that looked deliberate, almost like a handprint pressed and left to mark the metal. Cole's mind raced. This isn't just a weapon, he muttered. This is a message, a warning, a trail. He had to remember every detail mattered. Every tiny irregularity, every scratch, every mark could lead him to Hale, or to whoever was orchestrating this from the shadows. 10 years ago, Cole had watched Hale disappear into smoke and fire, a hail of bullets tearing through the jungle around them. Officially, Hale was dead. Officially, all of Bravo team was wiped out by enemy fire. Unofficially, Cole had always suspected something darker, something that didn't sit right. The team's position had been compromised from inside. The intel had been manipulated, and Hale's death had been too convenient. Now, standing over this Barrett, Cole felt that suspicion ignite into certainty. He left the armory quietly, careful not to trigger cameras. Every door, every lock, every sensor could have been manipulated. Whoever had planted the rifle had access, someone inside the base, someone who understood the way he thought. Cole drove himself into the small, barren parking lot behind the armory. His truck was waiting, standard issue for off-base SEAL use, unmarked, easy to disappear. As he started the engine, his mind raced through possibilities. Was Hale alive? Was he being lured here? Or was this some trap meant to test Cole's instincts? Then the number flashed in his mind again. The sequence of digits etched into the shim, the code Hale had once jokingly called his ghost number, now felt like a map, a key, a warning. Cole pulled out a notebook from the truck, something he hadn't used in years. SEAL tradition, the old-school method of tracking intel when digital channels were compromised. He wrote down the number carefully, studying it for any pattern, any hidden meaning. There it was, as familiar to him as the shape of Hale's face. A code referencing coordinates, mission logs, and personal notes that only Hale and he would understand. He drew a line connecting the digits to possible locations, old training grounds, abandoned ranges, and storage depots long since decommissioned. One location stood out, a desert range outside Coronado, a site that hadn't been active for years. A place nobody checked, nobody visited. And according to his calculations, that was where he would find his next clue. Cole knew he couldn't go through official channels. Not with Rourke breathing down his neck, not with the brass already warning him to drop this investigation. This was no longer just curiosity. It was survival. Driving out of the base, Cole's thoughts drifted back to Hale. He remembered the laugh, the way he moved, precise, sharp, calculating. Hale wasn't just a friend. He was a man who could disappear and leave a trail that only Cole could follow. If Hale was alive, he was probably alone, probably cornered, and probably in danger. Cole clenched the steering wheel. "I'll find you, brother," he whispered. "I don't care what it takes." The desert stretched out ahead, orange and pink fading into night. Dust kicked up around the truck's tires as he navigated back roads and service routes. The silence of the desert was suffocating, a stark contrast to the constant chaos of combat. And yet, in the quiet, Cole felt it. He was being watched. Not just by cameras or sensors, something alive, something calculating. He slowed the truck, scanning the horizon. A shadow shifted across a distant dune, too large to be an animal, too deliberate to be a trick of the light. Cole's pulse quickened. This wasn't a coincidence. Whoever Hale was, whoever had placed the Barrett here, they weren't finished. Arriving at the deserted training site, Cole killed the engine and stepped out. The wind whipped around him, carrying the sharp scent of dry sand and oil. The compound was silent, abandoned years ago, a skeleton of walls and bunkers, some partially collapsed, some intact but covered in dust. He crouched low, surveying the ground, fresh tire tracks, boot prints, signs that someone had been here recently, And the sand had small black flecks, burned gunpowder. Cole's breath caught. Someone had fired a .50 cal here, and if the Barrett's shim was any indication, it had been deliberate. A message left for him to find, to follow. He moved slowly, checking each ruin with practiced precision. Each shadow, each pile of rubble, each echo of sound was catalogued in his mind. His hands hovered near his holster, his eyes scanning constantly. Then he saw it, a spent casing lying in the sand, its base scratched lightly by hand, a number, Hale's number. Cole froze, his heartbeat thundered. The message was clear. Hale was here, and whoever was after him, they weren't just tracking the rifle, they were tracking him. A whisper of movement behind a rusted Humvee made him spin. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall, lean, moving with the exact gait Cole remembered. Hale, alive, bloodied, older, scarred, but unmistakably Hale. Cole's chest tightened. Hale. The man raised a finger to his lips, a warning, silent, urgent. Before Cole could respond, a red laser dot appeared on Hale's chest. Cole dove instinctively, adrenaline surging, as the first shot cut through the night. They rolled behind the Humvee, sand exploding around them. Hale's voice was tense, one shooter on the ridge. Cole's mind raced. He had to process this. Hale was alive. The number wasn't just a ghost code, it was a trail, and someone wanted to make sure Cole followed it right into danger. He peeked toward the ridge, seeing the faint glint of a sniper scope in the moonlight. Whoever it was, they were trained, deliberate, professional, and they weren't here to negotiate. Cole's hands moved to his rifle, then paused. Hale caught his eye. "Not yet," Hale hissed. "Trust me." Cole swallowed hard, recognizing the voice, the authority, the command. Hale hadn't just survived, he had planned. Every detail, every move, every signal had been calculated. Cole had walked right into his hands. The wind whipped sand across their faces. The moon hung low over the desert, and somewhere out there in the shadows, someone was watching, waiting for the next move. Cole realized in that instant, the past wasn't just alive, it was hunting them both. And the Barrett, that rifle wasn't just a weapon anymore, it was a signal, a puzzle, and perhaps a trap. Cole glanced at Hale, saw the weariness in his friend's eyes, and knew one undeniable truth. The game had just begun. Part 2 ends here with the tension between past and present, the alive but dangerous Hale, and the unseen sniper poised to strike. The desert night was alive with tension, each grain of sand a silent witness. Cole Maddox crouched behind the rusted Humvee, heart hammering, eyes fixed on the faint glimmer of the sniper's laser dot tracing Hale's chest. Every instinct told him to move, to act, but Hale's hand on his shoulder stopped him. "Not yet," Hale hissed. His eyes scanned the ridge like a predator calculating angles. "We need a clear shot. Don't engage until I tell you." Cole swallowed hard. Trusting Hale was automatic, drilled in over years of teamwork. But seeing his best friend, the man he had mourned for a decade, alive yet bleeding, standing just a few feet away, sent an unfamiliar cocktail of fear and disbelief coursing through him. The sniper fired again. Sand erupted near Cole's head, sending a cloud of grit into his eyes. Hale dove to the side, dragging Cole with him. Their combined weight dented the sand beneath them, and the recoil of adrenaline made every nerve scream. "We're being watched," Cole muttered, tasting sand and metal in his mouth. "Multiple shooters." Hale's eyes darkened. "It's not just watchers, they want both of us dead." Cole swallowed. His brain raced. This wasn't an ambush by random enemies or insurgents. This was a calculated hit. Someone with inside knowledge, someone who understood their tactics, their history, and even their weaknesses. Hale pulled a small flashlight from his vest, flicking it briefly across the terrain. The beam illuminated a trail of disturbed sand, recent footprints leading to a partially collapsed comms bunker at the far end of the compound. "We need cover." "That bunker," Hale said, voice low but commanding. We'll figure out who's behind this inside." Cole nodded, following Hale as they sprinted across open ground, low and fast, the moonlight their only ally. Shots rang out again, echoing off the ruined structures. Every round whispered danger, every shadow hinted at death. The bunker loomed ahead, a skeletal reminder of the base's abandoned training days. Its steel door hung on a single hinge, rust eating through the edges. Cole slid inside first, sweeping the interior. Hale followed, closing the door behind him. Dust rained from the ceiling, settling over their shoulders in fine, choking clouds. Inside, the bunker was a maze of old equipment, cracked walls and metal shelving. It smelled of decay, rust, and the faint trace of gunpowder. Cole leaned against the wall, heart racing, as Hale slumped onto a concrete bench, breathing hard. "Talk," Cole said, voice strained. "You've been alive this whole time. Why fake your death? Why the numbers?" Hale's face was a map of exhaustion and pain. "You weren't supposed to find me, Cole. Not now. Not ever. That rifle, the shim, it's a breadcrumb, a warning. And if you're here, it means someone wants you to follow it. Someone who's been hunting me for years." Cole clenched his fists. "Hale, I thought you were dead. I spent 10 years thinking that. And now I'm in the middle of what? Who's after you?" Hale's eyes darted to the slit in the bunker's wall, tracking movement outside. "Not just me, both of us. And whoever set this up, it's not regular military, not insurgents, private contractors. Contractors with unlimited resources and zero morality. They've been moving American weapons to places they shouldn't exist. Weapons that could destabilize governments if they get out, including Barrett's, including the one you just found." Cole's pulse spiked. The pieces clicked together in a horrifying puzzle. The number, the Barrett, the sniper, it wasn't random. It was systematic. Someone wanted to track Hale's work. Someone wanted Cole to find him. Someone wanted them both eliminated before they could expose the operation. "And the number?" Cole asked, voice tight. "What does it mean?" Hale reached into his vest, pulling out a thin, worn notebook. Its leather cover was scuffed, pages frayed. He opened it to a page filled with coded notes, sketches of weapons, coordinates, and a sequence of numbers that matched the shim. "It's a log code," Hale whispered. "Proof, evidence. Everything I've been tracking since Bravo Team got wiped out. Whoever orchestrated the cleanup thought they could erase the past. But the number, it's my insurance, my ghost code, my way of saying if anything happens to me, someone will know." Cole felt the weight of it pressing down on him. Hale had survived the past decade in hiding, gathering evidence of a conspiracy so large it could shake the military-industrial complex. And now, by some cruel twist of fate, Cole had walked directly into the crosshairs. The bunker shook with the impact of another shot striking the wall near the entrance. Dust and debris fell around them like snow in a storm. Cole and Hale exchanged a look. "We can't stay here," Hale said, voice urgent. "They know we're here, and they're not going to stop until both of us are dead. We need to move through the tunnels. There's an exit on the east side of the compound. It's narrow, hard to detect, but it's our only shot." Cole nodded, checking his weapon. He had trained for moments like this, but nothing in his years of deployments had prepared him for finding his best friend alive, bleeding, hunted, and carrying secrets that could kill them both. Hale led the way through the narrow corridors of the bunker, each step calculated, silent, precise. Cole followed, eyes and ears tuned to every creak, every shift of sand, every whisper of wind. Outside, the desert was alive with danger. Shots rang out sporadically, echoing across the ruined compound. Whoever was targeting them wasn't trying to scare them, they were trying to kill them. As they reached the tunnel entrance, Hale paused, pressing a hand to Cole's shoulder. "Listen carefully," he said. "Once we go in, there's no turning back. They've been tracking me for 10 years. If we get out together, they'll follow. If you leave without me—" Cole swallowed hard, understanding the weight of Hale's words. The choice was clear. Either trust Hale and fight together, or go alone and risk exposing him to capture, or worse. He nodded, gripping Hale's arm. "We do this together." Hale gave a brief, tense nod and led him into the tunnel. Darkness swallowed them. The air was thick, musty, and heavy with the smell of earth and rust. Each step was cautious, deliberate. The tunnel was narrow, forcing them to move single file. Every shadow could hide a threat, every sound could be the trigger of a sniper, a trap, a hidden operative waiting to strike. Cole's mind raced as they moved. The rifle, the shim, the number, the contractors, Hale, the team, the mission, everything from 10 years ago was colliding with the present. And then from somewhere deep in the tunnel, a faint mechanical click echoed, deliberate, slow, almost taunting. Cole froze. Hale stopped too. "Tripwire," Cole whispered. "Possibly," Hale replied. "Or a camera. Either way, stay sharp." Their flashlights cut weak beams through the tunnel. Dust motes danced like tiny stars in the beam. Cole's eyes scanned constantly. Hale moved ahead, limping slightly but with practiced efficiency. They were a team, silent, deadly, synced, even after a decade apart. And then the first bullet hit the tunnel wall behind them. The concrete cracked and dust exploded. Cole and Hale dove for cover, pressed against opposite sides of the narrow passage. The shooter was precise, professional, military grade. Cole's eyes met Hale's. No words were needed. They knew the stakes. They knew the enemy. And now, for the first time, the full weight of Hale's warning settled on Cole's shoulders. The past wasn't done with them. The contractors weren't finished. And whatever lay at the end of this tunnel, whoever had orchestrated this hunt, was waiting. Somewhere above in the shadowed compound, someone was watching, waiting, calculating. Cole clenched his fists. "We finish this," he muttered. "Whatever it takes." Hale nodded. "Whatever it takes." The tunnel stretched ahead, dark and silent, promising both escape and unknown danger. And then as they moved deeper, a faint sound echoed behind them, slow, deliberate, mechanical. Someone or something was following. Cole's breath hitched. Hale glanced over his shoulder. "Not good," Hale whispered. And just like that, the night wasn't just a desert hunt anymore. It was a trap, a chase, and the enemy had no intention of letting them leave alive. Cole and Hale pressed forward through the tunnel, the faint metallic clicks of their pursuer echoing behind them like a heartbeat of doom. Dust hung thick in the air, coating their lungs with each breath, but neither man stopped. They moved as one, silently communicating with glances and subtle shifts in weight, decades of shared experience guiding their every step. Finally, the tunnel opened into a narrow crawl space that led toward the surface. Cole's flashlight caught the exit just ahead, a faint triangle of moonlight spilling into the black. Freedom was close, but so was danger. Hale's face was tense. "Once we hit the surface," he whispered, "we're not safe, not yet. The compound has eyes everywhere. Cameras, tripwires, snipers, whoever's behind this, they're organized, methodical, deadly." Cole nodded. He had long since learned to trust Hale's instincts. But despite every precaution, Cole's mind was spinning. Why now? Why after 10 years did Hale suddenly become a target again? And why had the Barrett M107, the hidden number, and the planted trail been sent specifically for him to find? The answer, he suspected, would come from above, from the brass, the command structure, the people who had hidden Hale's disappearance for a decade. Back on base, Captain Rourke sat at his desk, a granite figure of authority, face lined with years of military rigidity. He hadn't seen Cole in person since the morning's incident in the armory, but he already knew what the young chief would do: chase the ghost. "You're not reopening this," Rourke said as Cole barged into the office, slamming the door behind him. Cole's jaw tightened. "Sir, Hale is alive. I saw the footage. I saw the number. I saw." "Footage doesn't mean anything," Rourke interrupted sharply. "That Barrett rifle, don't touch it, don't investigate it, you're not authorized. Consider this a direct order, drop it. Forget the past." Cole's hands clenched into fists. "Captain, I can't. This is Hale, he's alive. Someone hunting him and us. And that rifle," he tapped the metal shim in his pocket, is proof that he's out there and that there's a conspiracy. Rourke's expression shifted, a flicker of something Cole had never seen in him, unease. You didn't find this. Cole frowned, sir. You didn't see it, Rourke said, voice low, deliberate. You didn't see the number, you didn't see the message, you didn't see Hale, and you won't. If you dig any deeper, you'll find things you won't like. Cole's pulse quickened. Captain, what aren't you telling me? Rourke leaned back, steepling his hands, eyes shadowed. Bravo team was compromised. Hale wasn't just a casualty, he became a problem, a liability, and certain elements decided that the only way to contain the situation was containment, permanent containment. Cole's blood ran cold, his stomach churned. You mean you're telling me Hale was set up? Rourke didn't answer immediately. He just stared at him, the silence cutting deeper than any words could. Then he leaned forward. Drop this investigation, Maddox. If you continue, you'll be digging into a web that doesn't end well. Do you understand me? Cole's mind whirled. He couldn't turn back. Too much was at stake. Hale was alive, yes, but being hunted. And the longer he hesitated, the closer the hunters would get. As Cole left the office, Rourke's words echoed. Certain elements, containment, permanent containment. Outside, the desert wind seemed to whisper conspiracies through the chain-link fences. Cole pulled his truck out, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Every instinct screamed at him. Someone inside the system was orchestrating this. Someone with power. Someone who had waited 10 years for Hale to resurface. His phone buzzed suddenly, a message from an unknown number. Stop looking for him. Cole stared at the screen. The sender was anonymous, the tone cold, menacing, absolute, the kind of warning that meant real danger. He pocketed the phone. Too late, he muttered. Cole and Hale regrouped at the abandoned desert site, crouching behind concrete walls and rusted steel. Hale was bleeding from a shallow shoulder wound, but he was alive, alert, calculating. Cole had patched him as best he could with field bandages, but the sniper or snipers were still out there, watching, waiting, hunting. We need intel, Cole said. We need to know who's after you, why the rifle, why the numbers. Hale shook his head. I've been tracking them for 10 years. Contractors, rogue military, private operatives with ties to arms dealers. They move weapons around the globe, guns no government should allow. And they've been using Barretts like mine for covert transfers, including the one you just found. Cole swallowed hard. You're telling me this was all planned, the rifle, the code? Hale nodded. Every detail. The number was never meant for anyone else but you, and now that you're here, they know we've linked up. That makes us a threat, a target. Cole ran his hands over the rifle's metal, smooth and cold under the moonlight. The Barrett wasn't just a weapon. It was proof, evidence, a breadcrumb trail, a warning. And now it was a key to uncovering a conspiracy so large it could cost them both their lives. They stayed low as the night deepened, hearing the faintest clicks in the distance, boots crunching sand, the rustle of movement through sparse desert brush. Cole's muscles tensed. Hale's eyes scanned constantly. Every instinct they had honed over years of missions screamed danger. Suddenly, a faint glint caught Cole's eye. A scope reflected the moonlight. The sniper had moved positions. Sniper, Hale hissed. He's repositioning. We've got maybe 2 minutes before he lines up again. Cole dove behind a sand dune with Hale, heart hammering. We can't stay here. We need to move. Hale nodded grimly. East exit. Narrow tunnels. Hard to track, but we're not out of this yet. Whoever sent the rifle, they've been planning this for a decade. And now that you're involved, the game's changed. Cole took a deep breath. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was war. And the enemy wasn't just outside in the desert. It was inside the very system they had sworn to serve. As they moved toward the tunnels, Cole glanced at Hale's face, gaunt, determined, haunted. The man he had mourned for 10 years was alive, but at what cost? Cole, Hale whispered, voice low, almost a growl, Once we're out, there's no turning back. You follow me, you trust me, but you can't trust anyone else. Not brass, not contractors, not even old friends. Anyone can be a threat. Cole nodded, heart pounding. I've got your back, Hale, always. Hale's eyes softened for a fleeting moment. Good, because once we're in the tunnel, it's all on us. And whatever's waiting at the other end, it's not going to be pretty. They crept forward, shadow to shadow, each step a silent promise of survival. Outside, the desert stretched vast and unforgiving. Behind them, the shadow of the sniper loomed, silent, patient, lethal. And somewhere high above, the orders from command, the brass who had buried the past, were clear. Stop them, by any means necessary. Cole's mind raced. The number, the rifle, the contractors, the entire conspiracy was closing in. And as Hale led him into the narrow crawl tunnels, Cole realized whatever lay ahead would test them beyond anything they had ever faced. Every instinct screamed that the past wasn't just alive, it was hunting them. And the future was uncertain. The walls of the tunnel swallowed them. Dust, darkness, and silence enveloped them. Cole's flashlight cut a thin ribbon of light. Hale limped slightly, but his movements were precise, controlled. Each step was deliberate, every breath measured. Then, just as they began to relax slightly, a low metallic click echoed in the tunnel, deliberate, mechanical, unnervingly close. Cole froze. Hale glanced back. Not good, Hale whispered. And in that instant, Cole understood the full weight of what Rourke had meant. This was no random ambush. This was decades-old planning, precision strikes, and lethal calculation. The contractors and rogue operatives who had buried Hale were still out there. And now, Cole had walked straight into their trap. The desert night had an almost unnatural silence, broken only by the faint whisper of wind and the occasional distant crack of a gunshot. Cole, Maddox, and Hale had emerged from the tunnel, limping and exhausted, into the ruins of an abandoned desert training compound. The moonlight spilled over the crumbling walls, casting long, jagged shadows that danced across the sand. Every instinct screamed danger, but both men had learned over a lifetime in the teams that hesitation was deadly. Cole surveyed the area carefully. Rusted Humvees lay half-buried in sand. The skeletal remains of old training towers leaned precariously, long abandoned. But fresh footprints and tire tracks marred the sand, telling him someone had been here recently, very recently. Whoever it was, they were expecting him and Hale. Hale crouched next to him, pulling a field map from his pack. The coordinates etched on the metal shim, his ghost code, pointed toward a storage bunker just a few hundred meters away. This is it, Hale whispered. Somebody been moving weapons through here, including Barrett .50s. They've been careful but sloppy in some places. They want to test us. They want to see if we notice. Cole nodded, scanning the horizon. Test us. I think they want us dead. Hale gave a grim smile. Same difference. The two men moved cautiously, keeping low, stepping from shadow to shadow. The sand shifted beneath their boots, and every distant noise, a shifting branch, a scuttling animal, a broken beam, felt like the approach of a sniper or operative. Cole's hands hovered near his sidearm. Every muscle in his body was wound tight, ready to react in a fraction of a second. They reached a partially collapsed bunker, the entrance marked by a steel door hanging at a tilt. Hale signaled for Cole to wait. Tripwire or pressure sensor, he muttered. Could be deadly, could be nothing. Either way, we can't take chances. Hale carefully swept the area with a small mirror attached to a pole. A faint glimmer caught the reflection of his flashlight. A wire, nearly invisible, stretched across the entrance. Cole froze. Yeah, that would have blown my leg off. Hale smirked grimly. Welcome back to field ops, brother. Cole followed Hale into the bunker, ducking low. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of spent powder. Empty crates and pallets were stacked haphazardly along the walls, but something felt deliberate. Hale crouched near one crate, brushing away the dust with his gloved hands. These are recent, he said. Barrel jackets, scopes, ammunition, even suppressors. Whoever did this knew what they were doing, but they left breadcrumbs for me. And you, apparently. Cole frowned. Breadcrumbs, they want us here. Hale nodded. Exactly. That Barrett you found, it wasn't just a message. It was bait, a signal to draw me out. And you, apparently. Cole's pulse spiked. So what's next? Hale scanned the bunker. We find proof, document it, and then we disappear. Because the second someone outside realizes we have this, we'll be hunted relentlessly. Cole swallowed hard. Hale, you've been doing this alone for 10 years. Hale's eyes hardened. 10 years of ghosts, Maddox. 10 years of tracking contractors, rogue operatives, and anyone who thinks they can play God with American weapons. And now, it's all catching up. The sound of gravel shifting outside snapped Cole's attention. Hale froze. Both men pressed against the wall as shadows moved along the bunker's entrance. The sniper, or someone worse, multiple shooters. Cole's grip tightened on his sidearm. We've got company. Hale nodded. I know, but they're trying to hurt us, not kill us yet. Precision, control, they want something. Suddenly, a faint rustling came from behind a stack of crates. Cole's heart jumped. He pressed himself low, weapon raised. Hale's hand found his shoulder. Wait, he hissed. A figure emerged slowly, hands raised, a young technician, clearly terrified. Don't shoot, the man pleaded. I was told to bring supplies, I didn't know. Cole recognized the type instantly. Someone coerced, not a threat but a pawn. Hale stepped forward. Who sent you? The technician shook, tears brimming. I don't know. They said if I failed, they'd. Hale cut him off. That's enough, you stay here, quiet, understand. The technician nodded frantically, backing into the shadows. Cole exhaled slowly. This is insane. They've been moving weapons for years and we're just walking into it. Hale's eyes burned with a mixture of exhaustion and resolve. Yes, and now it's personal. That Barrett, the code, it was meant to draw me out. And now that you're here, we have leverage. If we move carefully, we can get proof and survive. But one misstep. Cole clenched his fists. I know, and we won't. They moved deeper into the bunker, carefully documenting crates, ammo, and the faint traces of operational plans. Every photograph, every note, every serial number was a thread in the web of a decades-long conspiracy. Hale's meticulous tracking of these contractors revealed something horrifying. The operations weren't just about smuggling weapons. They were testing battlefield efficiency, creating off-the-books black market transfers that could destabilize entire regions. Cole realized the magnitude of it. The Barrett M107 was only the beginning. Entire arsenals had moved in secret, and the contractors, they were ruthless, calculating, and invisible to normal oversight. Hale's hand brushed a crate. Look at this. Cole peered inside. Suppressed Barrett rifles, each modified, each with its own unique identifier, and several shims engraved with numbers similar to Hale's ghost code. Someone had been keeping track of every movement meticulously, just as Hale had been tracking them. Cole's stomach sank. Whoever they were, they had resources, training, and inside knowledge, and they weren't done. A sudden noise, a low metallic clink, echoed from the far corner of the bunker. Both men froze. The technician, or something worse. Cole's heart pounded as he swept the flashlight beam across the room. Nothing. Then from the entrance, a faint shadow moved, boots crunching softly on the sand outside. The sniper repositioning, or a new player entirely. Cole pressed close to Hale. They're circling us. Hale nodded. I know, but we've been in worse situations. Follow my lead. Hale led Cole through a narrow side passage of the bunker, crawling under collapsed beams, over broken crates, and through vents that barely allowed their bodies. Each step was deliberate, careful, quiet. Each breath calculated. Finally, they emerged into a small, enclosed courtyard of the compound. Moonlight illuminated cracked concrete, rusted fencing, and the distant desert horizon. A path led east, the coordinates from the ghost code. Their escape route. Cole glanced at Hale. This is it. Hale nodded. East exit. Narrow, hard to detect. If we move carefully, we can disappear. They moved as shadows, silent and deliberate. Behind them, faint whispers of movement hinted at pursuit. The sniper, or ground forces. Cole didn't know, and he didn't want to. They reached the edge of the compound. A final glance at the ruins revealed the truth. Someone had been here recently, and they weren't leaving any trails by accident. Every step had been calculated, every engagement anticipated. Cole tightened his grip on his sidearm. We make it out, we get proof, we disappear. That's the plan. Hale nodded, and then we expose them, every last one. Cole's eyes scanned the desert, vast and unforgiving. The moon hung low, illuminating the path ahead. Every shadow could conceal a sniper, a trap, a threat. And yet, Cole felt the old adrenaline kick in. The mission wasn't over. It was just beginning. As they disappeared into the night, the desert swallowing their footprints, Cole realized one chilling truth. The road they were on was no road any SEAL should ever walk. And yet, they had no choice. The past was alive. The contractors were hunting them, and the ghost code burned in his hand like a beacon of truth and danger. Somewhere hidden in the shadows, someone was watching, waiting, calculating their next move. Cole and Hale had survived the first wave, but the night was far from over. The desert wind howled across the empty expanse as Cole, Maddox, and Hale pressed forward, moving low across the dunes toward the coordinates etched into the ghost code. Each step was calculated, every movement precise. The night was alive with the faint hum of unseen predators, and every grain of sand felt like a potential threat. Hale limped slightly, but his movements were smooth, measured, a shadow honed by 10 years in hiding. Cole's eyes scanned constantly, flashlight cutting thin ribbons of light across the terrain. Somewhere on the ridge above, the sniper was waiting, or maybe multiple shooters. Whoever it was, they weren't amateurs. Hale stopped suddenly, hand raised. Cole froze instantly. Ahead, the ridge rose like a jagged wall against the night sky. Shadows shifted unnaturally. The moonlight glinted off metal, a sniper scope reflecting faintly, revealing the position of their unseen assailant. "Sniper," Hale whispered. "One, maybe two. Likely contractors, precision-trained. They've been following my movements for years. They know how we think. They know our tactics." Cole's pulse spiked. "We can't take them head-on." Hale's eyes narrowed. "We don't have to. We flank. We use cover. And we get them before they can make the first real kill." The two men moved like ghosts, hugging the shadows of broken rocks and crumbling walls. Hale's plan was simple but dangerous. Lure the sniper into a calculated position where they could engage on their terms. The ridge above shimmered faintly with movement. Cole could feel the precision in the air, the deadly calculation of someone who had trained to kill from hundreds of meters. His instincts screamed. Every SEAL instinct, every deployment, every firefight came rushing back. Hale motioned him to stop behind a collapsed wall. "Here, wait, watch the shadows, count the flashes. 1, 2. He's calculating wind, distance, recoil. The slightest misstep and we're dead." Cole's hands tightened on his rifle. He had trained for moments like this, yet the stakes felt impossibly higher now. Hale, his brother in arms, the man he had mourned, was alive, and every second mattered. A faint click echoed from the ridge. The sniper had taken the first shot. The round hit the sand near Hale's boots, throwing dust into the air. Cole instinctively dove to the side, heart pounding, as Hale pressed him down. "Not yet," Hale hissed. "Wait for the opening, don't give him a target." Another shot rang out, this one slightly off. Cole caught a glimpse of a glint on the ridge, the sniper adjusting position. Hale's eyes were cold, calculating. He thinks he has the advantage. He doesn't know we've anticipated this. Not fully, anyway. Cole swallowed, counting the seconds. 10 years of shadows, and now we're face to face with them. Hale nodded. "Exactly, and now we hit them where it hurts." They moved silently across the sand, keeping low. Hale pointed to a jagged outcrop that would provide elevation above the sniper's line of sight. "We use that ridge, overwatch, suppress him with coordinated fire, then move in." Cole followed, adrenaline sharpening every sense. Dust and sand scraped against his boots. The night smelled of metal, oil, and danger. Every shadow seemed alive. Every echo was a heartbeat of death. As they climbed, Cole's mind raced. The contractors, whoever they were, had been orchestrating this for a decade. They had infiltrated the system, tracked Hale, planted the Barrett M107, and now were testing them, hunting them, trying to eliminate witnesses to a global weapons conspiracy. Hale's voice cut through his thoughts. "Ready." Cole nodded. "Ready." They reached the ridge, pressing into the shadows. The sniper was visible now, crouched behind a boulder, scope trained down the slope. Hale signaled, counting silently. Cole's finger rested lightly on the trigger. The first shot rang out precise, controlled. The sniper fired again. Hale moved, returning fire, the echo of the rifles bouncing across the desert like distant thunder. Cole followed, hitting the cover near the sniper's position with calculated bursts. The fight was brief, brutal, and precise. Shots ricocheted, dust exploded, and the sniper reeled back, adjusting position. But Cole and Hale were in perfect sync, covering each other's flanks, using shadows, terrain, and reflexes to survive. Finally, Hale moved closer, hands signaling Cole to cover him. The sniper, realizing his position had been compromised, attempted to retreat. Hale fired. The crack of the rifle echoed across the ridge, and the sniper collapsed into the sand, rifle sliding from his grip. Cole exhaled, tension finally releasing slightly, but it wasn't over. Hale's eyes scanned the horizon. "He's not alone. Communications. Backup is inbound. We've got maybe 5 minutes before the main force converges." Cole nodded grimly. "Then we move now." They descended from the ridge, careful to avoid exposure. Hale led them toward a narrow service road that connected to the old compound, tracking their path using moonlight and memory. Every shadow, every dune, every ruined building was a potential death trap. As they moved, Hale finally spoke about the scope of the conspiracy. "It's bigger than you realize, Cole. Contractors, rogue military, arms dealers. They've been moving weapons off the books for years. The Barrett M107s, the .50 cals, other experimental rifles, all part of a black market operation designed to destabilize governments, create controlled chaos, and profit off conflict." Cole's jaw tightened, and we just stumbled into it. Hale's eyes darkened. "Not stumbled, we were drawn. That rifle, the code, it was bait. And now that you're involved, we're targets. And anyone else who knows about this is also a target." Cole glanced at the rifle in Hale's pack. The same Barrett that had been hidden for years. A weapon, yes, but also a key, a message, and now a threat. The service road led them to a small, overgrown maintenance shed. Hale crouched near the door, listening. "Inside, we'll find communications, logs, maybe more proof of their operations. But it's not empty. Someone been here recently." Cole nodded. "Then we go in fast, grab what we can, move." They slipped inside the shed. Dust motes floated in the air, disturbed by their movement. Old crates, boxes, and files filled the room. Hale moved quickly, scanning labels, checking for digital storage devices and photographs. Finally, he found what they were looking for, a locked cabinet with digital records. Hale's fingers worked quickly, bypassing the lock. Inside were detailed manifests of weapon shipments, names of operatives, coordinates, and notes about every Barrett rifle they had moved. Cole's eyes widened. This is it, proof." Hale nodded, taking photos of everything with a small, encrypted device. "Yes, and it's only the tip. They've been covering their tracks for a decade, but this is enough to blow the lid off the whole operation." Before they could finish, a sudden noise froze them. heavy boots crunching on the gravel outside. Reinforcements. The contractors had arrived. Cole and Hale exchanged a tense glance. "We're not done yet," Hale muttered. Cole gritted his teeth. "Then let's finish it." They braced themselves, rifles ready, shadows merging with the night. Outside, the enemy advanced, unaware that the two men they had hunted for 10 years were alive, armed, and ready to fight back. The desert night was about to erupt. The desert air burned their lungs as Cole, Maddox, and Hale sprinted from the shed, evidence secured in Hale's pack. The contractors were closing fast, boots crunching on sand, rifles glinting under the moonlight, precision-trained and ruthless. Cole could feel the weight of the past decade pressing down on him. Hale's survival, the Barrett, the ghost code, and now the pursuit that had become inescapable. They reached a series of crumbling concrete walls ducking behind the shadows. Hale signaled for Cole to halt. "They've split up," he whispered, scanning the horizon. "Two on the left ridge, 4 moving to cut us off. They're corralling us toward the canyon. They want a kill zone." Cole's mind raced. A tactical nightmare perfectly orchestrated. So what's the play? Hale's eyes narrowed. "We use their overconfidence. Divide and conquer. I'll flank the ridge. You cover the approach. When they're distracted, we move. Quick, silent, brutal." Cole nodded, checking his rifle. Every muscle in his body tensed. Every instinct screamed danger. And yet he trusted Hale implicitly. After all, this was a man who had survived 10 years of being a ghost, hunted by killers, and still managed to stay alive. They split silently, moving through the ruins with shadows as allies. Cole took cover behind a fallen wall, eyes trained on the ridge. Dust kicked up occasionally, signaling movement. The sniper who had been pursuing them earlier had repositioned, likely coordinating with the ground team. Cole's pulse raced. Every second could be the last. Then a voice crackled in his earpiece, an encrypted signal from Hale. 3 on the ridge, 2 approaching from the west. Wait for my cue." Cole held his breath. Every sound, the scrape of boots, the whisper of sand, the faint metallic glint of a weapon, was amplified in the desert silence. He had been in firefights before, but never like this. Hunted, outnumbered, and dealing with enemies who had decades of resources backing them. Hale's voice came again, tense but precise. "Now." Cole opened fire, the rifle's roar echoing across the canyon. Bullets tore through sand and metal, forcing 2 contractors to drop behind rocks. Hale moved in from the flank, taking 2 more down with deadly precision. But just as they seemed to gain the upper hand, a new variable entered the battlefield, a figure emerging from the shadows behind the contractors, unarmed but confident. A familiar face. Cole froze, recognition hit like a punch to the chest. "Rourke," he whispered. Hale's eyes narrowed. "No, that's impossible." The figure stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of temporary truce. "Cole," the man said, voice low and strained, "you have to trust me. It's the only way you survive." Cole's mind raced. Rourke had given him strict orders hours ago to drop the investigation, to leave Hale buried in the past. But this man wasn't Rourke, or, if he was playing a game of his own. "Explain," Cole demanded. The man's eyes darted nervously. "Contractors aren't working alone. There's someone higher up inside the system. I've been tracking them. They've been using military resources to cover their operations. Hale's discovery put both of you at risk, but I can help, only if you follow my lead." Cole's gut twisted, another layer of betrayal, another complication. He glanced at Hale, who was tense but assessing the new ally. "Do we trust him?" Cole whispered. Hale's jaw tightened. "We have no choice, but eyes open every move." They moved as a unit, shadows among shadows, through the dunes toward a secluded ravine. The contractors pursued, but the unexpected ally provided critical cover, calling out threats, laying small traps, and misleading their hunters. Cole realized that without this intervention, they would have been pinned and executed within minutes. Inside the ravine, Hale paused, catching his breath. We're not out yet, but this gives us leverage. The contractors, they're organized, yes, but someone inside the military, someone above Rourke, is orchestrating this entire operation. Hale's survival isn't just inconvenient, it's a liability to them. Cole's jaw clenched. You mean, someone set him up 10 years ago, covered it up, and now is trying to finish the job? Hale nodded grimly. Exactly. And that's why the Barrett and the Ghost Code were left for you. Whoever did this, they wanted you to find Hale, wanted to test if we were still alive. And now that we are, they're desperate. Cole felt the weight of betrayal settle in. The enemy wasn't just contractors. It was their own system, their own chain of command. 10 years of manipulation, concealment, and murder hidden under the guise of national security. And now the game had changed. Their temporary ally, whose name remained unspoken, guided them to a hidden ridge overlooking an old communications bunker. Inside, he said, is the comms they've been using to coordinate with their contractors. If you can get in, get the data, we expose the whole operation. Cole and Hale exchanged a look. It was risky, an ambush could be waiting. But this was the moment they had been chasing for years, proof, leverage, and a chance to strike back. They approached the bunker carefully. Cole scanned the perimeter, eyes sharp, weapon ready. Hale moved like a shadow, disabling traps, checking for pressure sensors and scanning for snipers. The night was tense, every second stretching like an eternity. Inside the bunker, the lights flickered faintly, long since disconnected from the main grid. Dust coated every surface. Hale quickly accessed an old terminal, plugging in a small encrypted drive. Files began to download. Shipment manifests, names, dates, and locations. A decade of covert operations exposed in digital ink. Cole leaned against the wall, rifle ready, every sense on high alert. This is it, he whispered. This is everything. Hale's eyes were hard, focused. Yes, but it's not over. They'll know we've accessed it, and they'll come for us, every last one. Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the bunker. Contractors, reinforced. Cole's heart pounded. They were surrounded, trapped in the desert with only a fraction of time to escape. Hale slammed the drive into his pack. We move now. They exited the bunker silently, but as they reached the ridge, a hail of gunfire erupted from below. Bullets kicked up sand, ricocheting off rock. Cole dove behind a boulder, returning fire. Hale provided cover, moving with lethal efficiency. Their ally appeared beside them, laying down, suppressing fire, pulling the contractor's attention just enough to allow Cole and Hale to maneuver. But even with coordination, the odds were against them. Cole's mind raced, the Barrett, the Ghost Code, the evidence, the betrayal. Every choice had led to this moment. A firefight in the desert against a hidden army, orchestrated by the people they should have trusted. Hale's voice cut through the chaos. Cole, the canyon, move through the canyon. It's narrow, they can't bring vehicles or heavy fire in there. Follow me. They sprinted, sand flying, bullets whizzing past, hearts hammering. Behind them, the contractors pursued relentlessly. Cole glanced back. The scope of the betrayal was clear. This wasn't just survival. This was war against a hidden enemy with resources and ruthlessness that spanned the globe. As they dove into the canyon, Hale pulled Cole close. Listen, Maddox. Once we get to the far side, we separate. You take the evidence. Expose the operation. I'll draw them away. It's the only way. Cole's stomach twisted. Alone, I can't. You have to, Hale interrupted. It's the only way to survive. You know the stakes. You know what they'll do if we're both caught. Cole's hands shook, but he nodded. Hale had trained him, trusted him, survived beside him. He couldn't argue now. The weight of the past decade, the loss, the survival, the Ghost Code rested on him. Hale's eyes softened just for a moment. Don't fail me, Maddox. Cole swallowed, gripping the drive tight. I won't. And then, with one final glance, Hale disappeared into the shadows of the canyon. a phantom drawing fire, leaving Cole with the evidence, the weight of the conspiracy, and the knowledge that the betrayal ran deeper than he could have imagined. Cole Maddox sprinted through the narrow canyon, the weight of Hale's encrypted drive pressing against his chest like a promise proof of a decade-long conspiracy that had nearly cost Hale his life. Bullets ricocheted off jagged rocks behind him, each shot a reminder that the contractors weren't just skilled, they were relentless. Hale had vanished into the shadows, deliberately drawing fire to allow Cole to escape. Cole's mind reeled, not only from the chaos of the firefight but from the betrayal they had uncovered. A hidden network operating within the military, using contractors to move weapons off the books and willing to kill anyone who knew too much. As he ran, Cole's thoughts returned to the Barrett M107, the metal shim and the ghost code, the breadcrumbs Hale had left for him. They weren't just a message. They were a test, a trap, and now a lifeline. Cole's fingers clutched the drive tighter. This was the key to exposing everything. The canyon narrowed, forcing Cole into a single-file path with cliffs pressing in on either side. He slowed, listening. The sounds of pursuit had faded slightly, but that didn't mean they were safe. Contractors could be lying in wait, hidden behind rocks, ready to finish the job. Cole pressed on, scanning every shadow, every rock formation. The desert moon cast distorted shapes, and his adrenaline was a white-hot flame in his veins. He knew the drive contained names, dates, shipment manifests, and locations, evidence that could shake the military-industrial complex to its core. But first, he had to survive. Ahead, a faint glow of light flickered. He approached cautiously, keeping low. It was a small communications outpost, long abandoned but still connected to a secondary power source. Cole ducked behind a ruined wall and peered inside. Equipment hummed faintly, and monitors flickered, showing live feeds of contractors moving across the desert compound. Cole's pulse quickened. He had found their eyes, and now he could turn them against them. He moved inside silently, plugging the encrypted drive into one of the terminals. Files began to upload to a secure cloud server, and Cole worked with the precision of a man trained for moments like this. Every second counted. The contractors could track signals. Any noise could give him away. Meanwhile, Hale was executing the deadliest part of the plan, survival and distraction. The contractors had pressed hard into the canyon, expecting to trap both men. Hale used his knowledge of the terrain, the ridges, shadows, and old structures to orchestrate chaos. He moved like a ghost, leading enemies into natural traps, collapsing sandbanks and drawing gunfire away from Cole. A hail of bullets kicked up sand around him. Hale dove behind a boulder, firing precise shots, taking out two contractors before they could regroup. He wasn't just surviving, he was buying Cole the time needed to upload the evidence. But Hale knew the risk. Every second in the open increased the odds that he wouldn't make it. He pressed forward, remembering every loss, every mission gone wrong, and every ghost of the past that had led him here. This wasn't just survival, it was vengeance, justice, and redemption. Back in the canyon, Cole completed the upload. Confirmation blinked on the monitor, files secured. Names of high-ranking officials, rogue contractors, and their hidden operations now existed in the public sphere. The storm of exposure had begun. Cole exhaled, relief tempered by fear. Hale was still out there buying him time, but the canyon wasn't safe for long. Movement from above, shadows shifting on ridges alerted Cole. More contractors, repositioning to trap him before he could leave. Cole grabbed a rifle from a fallen operative and took cover. Precision shots rang out, picking off advancing targets. Every shot he took, he thought of Hale, the man who had survived 10 years as a ghost, who had been hunted relentlessly, and who had saved him countless times. Then a sudden sound, a crash, echoed from the ridge. Hale had collapsed part of the rock formation onto a group of contractors, blocking their advance and buying Cole the final seconds he needed. Hale's strength, his skill, and his knowledge had turned the tide. Cole ran, leaving the canyon behind, until he reached the edge of a highway cutting through the desert. A nondescript black SUV waited, engine running, a safe house arranged by Hale's temporary ally. Cole climbed in, heart pounding, eyes scanning the horizon. Inside, a radio crackled. Hale's voice, rough but alive, came through. Did it go through? Cole's hands shook as he checked the device. Yes, evidence secured, they can't hide it now, the world knows. Hale's laugh was brief, haunted but victorious. Good, now get out of there, I'll meet you at the extraction point. Cole's mind raced. Hale was still out there, facing a heavily armed team, risking everything to ensure Cole and the truth survived. The desert stretched endlessly, unforgiving and merciless. But Cole didn't hesitate. He drove toward the coordinates Hale had provided, adrenaline still surging, hope and fear intermingled. Hours later, under the cover of dawn, Cole reached the extraction point, a secluded airstrip with a single helicopter waiting. Hale was there, bandaged but alive, leaning against a wall with a rifle slung across his back. Cole ran to him, relief and exhaustion colliding. "You made it," Hale said, voice hoarse. "We both made it," Cole corrected, handing over the evidence. "The files are secure. The world will know what they've done." Hale's eyes darkened. "Good, but this isn't over. The contractors won't disappear. They'll regroup. They'll try again. And the people who betrayed us from inside, they're still out there." Cole nodded. "Then we're ready for them. We survived this because we trusted each other. That's all we need." Hale allowed himself a brief smile. "You always did have a stubborn streak, just like me." Cole laughed, tension finally easing, though the memory of 10 years of deception and death lingered like a shadow. They boarded the helicopter, the engine roaring to life. As the desert receded below them, Hale looked out over the dunes. "After everything," he murmured, "sometimes surviving is just the beginning. Sometimes the fight only starts once the ghosts are revealed." Cole glanced at him, eyes steady. "Then we fight together." The helicopter lifted off, climbing into the early morning sky. Below, the desert was empty, silent, but forever changed. Above, two men who had survived betrayal, death, and a decade of shadows now carried proof that could topple a hidden empire. And somewhere, hidden among the contractors, the betrayal, and the shadows of the past, a storm was brewing, one they could no longer hide from. Cole and Hale had survived the hunt, but the world had yet to see the fury of the hunted, the wrath of the betrayed, and the unbreakable bond forged in blood, bullets, and secrets. The desert sun rose, painting the horizon blood-red, signaling not just survival, but the beginning of a reckoning. Part 8 ends here, the story concluding with the exposure of the conspiracy, the survival of Cole and Hale, and the ominous promise that the enemies who hunted them will face justice, setting the stage for a new chapter of reckoning and retribution.